I know that they're going to shut them down quickly because they had passed the, you know, the municipal thing where they're going to put them all in one big school. They're in the high school, so they're building all that. But I went just today because my daughter was sick and their front doors weren't locked. I was able just to walk in. So I found like that to me was like, okay, so anybody could walk in here. But here in Lahaina, of course, all their doors are locked. And they're not supposed to be unlocked. And even in the hallways, teachers are not supposed to have their doors unlocked. They're supposed to be locked at all times.
Because doors from the classroom out to the hall?
Yes.
Oh.
They want in, they have to knock. But that's only because, you know, they have gathered information from other school shootings where the shooter had just entered classroom to classroom to classroom because it has been unlocked. If they're locked, then there's at least a barrier from them to cause more casualties. All right. So what is a school resource officer? So it's a school resource officer is somebody who's post-certified. Post-certified means we went to college, you know, we did the required hours, the required training, and then we had to pass the Colorado exam to get post-certified, which is to become a police officer. And so once we do that, like I said, ideally they want the officer to have more than 3 years of experience. That's only because, too, is for credibility. You know, like when I came into the school setting, a lot of these staff didn't know me. They thought I was completely new. And so when they were asking me questions and thought I didn't know the answer to, they were quite surprised. And then they started to get to know me and ask about my experience or how would they handle it this way. So when I was able to answer their questions with confidence or with knowledge or experience, I was able to gather credibility there from the students and staff. This is a statistic that a previous SRO has gotten. I'm sure it's more now because it says where are they employed, and that's just as what they know of. I know a lot of schools, if you guys heard about up in the Denver area, they had gotten rid of their SROs because they were like, if they're not needed anymore, we don't need them. And then recently they had that school shooting, and so now they're like, we need SROs back, and we have them back. So I know a lot of schools have probably wanted more SROs, so this is probably not as accurate as it is up there. But I didn't know exactly where to find it because when I go on the internet, of course, the numbers have changed or was it updated? It's back in 2020. So this is just something that had been previously done. The selection of the SRO. So I'll just read this because this was actually from an Astro book that I had gotten from training over the summer. It is carefully selected, specifically trained, and properly equipped full-time law enforcement officer with sworn law enforcement authority, trained in a school-based law enforcement and crisis response, assigned by the employing law enforcement agency to work in the school using community-oriented policing concepts. Like I said, quite a bit already, about 3 years. Sometimes it's not ideal. Some people probably have experience prior, you know, maybe they were a teacher, they have a little bit of a background in school setting, and maybe they become an officer, maybe they could go on to the school setting sooner. Just really depends on the agency, the law enforcement agency. Really depends on that.
So do you have to have any special training in like counseling or anything like that in case there's a kid comes to you or
right.
something like that?
So with the Lahaina, the police department of Lahaina, we're actually required to get CIT trained. So that's crisis intervention training, and it's about, I believe it's like 40 hours, so a week time. I did that back in 2017. So they were people who would give us real base scenarios, and they taught us how to de-escalate a situation if they were in crisis, meaning even people who were in suicide state, people who were in domestic violence. They would give us lots of scenarios on how we could de-escalate it. They would show us, first we would do it ourselves, and then they would critique after. That was good, or you should do better this time. Don't use those words, don't that. We don't specifically have counseling, but we are known as like counselors, mentors, the parent, friends, you know, that kind of thing, just because we get called to everything. No matter if it's in the school setting or on the patrol side, we have to have that CIT now, because in the public eye, police are always bad. We're always the bad guys. With CIT, if we're CIT trained, we have that, you know, extra tool on our belt to use with our voice. Let's talk about it. Let's not escalate the situation.
So you obviously have had training in like what words to use in what situations and how to talk some kid off the cliff or whatever.
Yes. And we done scenarios like that in that class, yes. Everyone who will be employed with Lahaina PD or has gone CIT training. Yes. Including dispatchers, I believe. Did you get CIT training?
When it was available, yes.
Yes.
We haven't just haven't had any classes.
Yeah, they also like dispatchers to get CIT trained because they're the first person to answer that call. So, very, very well. Very needed. Like I said, it's nice to have somebody with experience so that they can actually back up what they're saying. You get a lot of kids in the school setting, especially where I'm at, they're junior high, high school, that will definitely question everything you do, whether you're a student, a teacher, a parent. Yeah. Many of you probably know, you probably all have children. I know I do, and she still questions me, and she's 10. And then we got a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old. The 1-year-old babbles, but she questions me. Okay, and then, yes, an SRO is one of the best security investments. Obviously, we're post-certified. We're able to carry all the equipment on us to help prevent crime or prevent casualties if there was any.
And I can't think of what the name of it is, such a counter drug.
Narcan?
Yeah. Is there Narcan in the schools?
No, there's not Narcan in the schools. I don't know if the nurses do, the nurse station. I know that we don't carry it though. I have not.
Okay.
I believe we have to do some type of training to do that though, to be able to carry that.
But the police officers do, right?
No, we don't.
Oh, they don't?
I know Otero does, Otero County,
Okay.
the deputies, but I don't know if it's because they went to a training. Because I know whatever we carry, we have to be trained on. We can't just be carrying
Oh,
stuff.
so somebody ODs. And
Then we call
police
EMS
come. Okay.
immediately.
Okay.
And that's probably why Otero might have been trained on it, because you know how
Yeah.
Otero is, right?
Yeah.
They can be out in
Yeah.
Chiraw and their next EMS is, what, 15 minutes, depending where in Chiraw, you know, or wherever that is.
Oh,
Probably because they have the whole county. Us, EMS is less than 3 minutes, hopefully.
So have you run into a situation where you wonder if a kid is a possible shooter at some point? I mean,
Yeah,
the way-
so
what do you do about that if you see one
Yeah.
that you think it has a possibility but hasn't done anything yet?
right.
What was your question?
She said, "What do I do? Like, what's my protocol if I see a student who could be possibly as like a school shooter, or some kid who's just not acting right?" Recently, I'm dealing with this situation. I mean, we can't just point fingers and say, "Yeah, that kid. I know he's gonna shoot up the school one day." We can't do that. Me, like I said, I have to go through the school setting. So my concern was this kid has just made some statements, not saying he's gonna kill or shoot anyone, just hurting somebody. I bring it to the attention of the administrators, like I brought it to Mr. Goheen. Mr. Goheen will handle it. I know that they have to go, I don't know their policy, but they go through like a scale. Where is this kid on the scale? This one, very minimum. This one, oh, he's gonna do something, he has a plan. But they have to do it with the counselors. I'm not involved until they feel like, okay, we can't handle it in the school setting anymore, we're gonna get law enforcement. Recently, we haven't had any. Since I've been employed with Lahaina PD, I've never had that incident, knock on wood.
Thank heavens.
But we're always prepared, so we bring it to them. They are able to handle it better than I am on that. Just because there's no evidence. This is just a feeling. Right.
A woman's intuition.
Right. And then, of course, law enforcement side, we can't just go with intuition. We have to actually have evidence. So the roles is to be visible, help safe learning environments, get relationship with these students. develop strategies and so forth, be the good role model. So usually in the school, I'm just walking the halls when they're going to class. During lunches, I'm there in the lunchroom. I try to be visible. I don't keep the same routine every time. Kids pick up patterns, so I gotta be somewhere different all the time. And if not, at least be there and try to be a help to prevent those fights or
Do you ever walk into classrooms during class, or?
I do, but I did last year, at the end of last year, but not the beginning of this year, just because we're only a month in and they're still trying to settle in what classes should be like. We have new staff that are still learning on how to manage these kids. I've done it at the end of last year, like I said. I'll go in and I'll try to sit in and listen and, you know, keep it calm, but you have those kids who will look back and ask questions, or why are you here? Have you shot somebody? Or have you arrested them? And I'm like, all right, thank you guys, I'll leave, you know, because I'm a distraction. I try to sit in with them, but I distract them. They get sidetracked so much, so.
Anything to take away from the teacher, right?
Exactly, so if I do walk in, it's quick. I can't. I'll try to talk with them during lunch or during passing periods, but even through passing periods, it's hard because they have to get to class in 4 minutes. And they like to walk the halls. And if you've been at the Lana High School, it's a big hex, right? We got 6 hexes everywhere, kids everywhere walking and walking. So I try not to conversate too much during passing period, because then they'll blame me for their tardiness. They tried before. So yeah, these are the roles. Is an informal counselor, right? I'm not certified as a counselor, but we are, right? I sit there and I'll listen to what happened, or why are they crying because they got an F on this test, kind of thing. Just kind of listening to them, just being that ear, an educator, and of course I'm the law enforcement officer. So educator, sometimes we have teachers ask if I can teach a class. I did at the end of last year. She asked if I can help them talk about car insurance. What do you do if you got into an accident? When should law enforcement be notified, and so forth? So I was able to help her with that class, and I brought in our deputy chief, Scott Copley, who's a retired CSP patrol, so corporal, I believe. So he was able to help me with that. So like that kind of thing is in the MOU. If we're asked to help out or educate, even if it wasn't, I would. Let me help you. And a lot of kids didn't know, like, yes, you should always have insurance in the car. If you don't have it, you can have it on your phone, have it visible. Make sure you have that kind of thing. Or if you get in an accident, don't just leave. Call law enforcement. Even if you want to handle it between you guys. Make sure you're documenting that thing, because if not, it comes back at them. Hit and run or something, and they could get into something serious. So that's the main 3 things we are there at the school. This is just more, it's like bridging the gap. My position, I'm very, very fortunate to have this position, because I'm not in the patrol and I'm not just dealing with the bad stuff, right? When we're in law enforcement, we're always arresting somebody. We're pulling over traffic. We're always getting people for things that they done bad. Me, on the other hand, I'm in school where I'm able to make friends. Try to make these kids who've had bad interactions with law enforcement a good one since I'm there. So, you know, sometimes I get kids who are finally relaxed and comfortable around me. They'll be like, oh, you know me. And I'm like, oh, all excited. They're like, yeah, you arrested my dad. I'm so sorry. Let's go have lunch. Let's do something, you know? Trying to bridge that gap. You know, a lot of these kids don't have good experiences. A lot of them, actually. It's unfortunate. But I'm there and I'm trying to be better for them, be their parent that maybe they don't have at home, you know. I can try. There's like 600, so it's really, really hard. Respect, of course. I give them respect, and hopefully I get it back. For the most part, I have. I do get those kids who eye roll, walk away, kind of thing, you know. Haven't had too much problems, though. Reduce juvenile delinquency. Just pretty much just reducing crime. Just educating them about the things that they do is actually crime, like bullying, right? I have to let them know, did you know that's actually harassment? I have to tell them, did you know that's a crime? Or if you make them or tell them to kill themselves and they do, it's a crime. Like, do they, you know? So I have to talk to them, just to educate them, because they don't know that. They don't learn that in the school setting. They just know, like, don't bully or we get in trouble. The principal, but they don't realize the criminal side of things. So, and also teach them how to not become a victim. Had a couple of conversations last year. Towards the end, they're talking about college and stuff, about like where they want to go. You know, I'm just educating them, and so was another teacher. It was like, oh, when I went to college, I made sure to park under a light. You know, I made sure to always watch my surroundings. Kind of those things. You're off to college, just be aware of your surroundings. Don't trust everyone in your school, you know. Depending where they go, it's very unsafe or it's the safest place, but nowhere is perfect. We all have all our bad days. Daily life, I just went over that. I just like listen to them, walk their classrooms if I got to. I eat lunch with them. Once in a while I'll sit and actually eat with them. But for the most time I do what the other staff do, and I just stand and eat my lunch and just watch. Just watch. Because I sometimes feel like their lunches are their time. I don't want them to feel like, oh, she's sitting with us. We can't even talk about complaining about my day or complaining about my mom without
a teacher or whatever.
Yeah, a teacher especially, because she's going to say something. Like, for the most part, I leave them be and then talk to them if I feel like, okay, this is a good time to talk to them, because they deserve their time. They don't need to be lectured the whole time.
So if you come up on a kid in the hall doing something, do you send him to the office, or what do you do?
Yeah, I walk them to the attendance office, or I need to find a principal or an assistant principal. I walk with them and I let them know what I had witnessed, and then they take it from there. I don't do anything unless they want me to. As probably parents, if it was too bad, like a fight was like, all right, they want to press charges, that's when I get involved. But for the most part, if I see something like that, I hand it off. Especially like with vaping. If I find vaping or even paraphernalia, like, you know, not a pipe, but like a vape thing, or I don't know the lingo because I don't do that. But I walk them and I just let them know, like, hey, they're doing this, they have this, and then they handle it. Sometimes I find out what they did to them, sometimes I don't. A lot of these things I don't even know what's going on until I'm absolutely needed. So, in the school setting, they handle it.
Is one of you enough in the school, or do they need more?
I wish we had more, especially at the other schools. I could be useful everywhere. Like, if they absolutely need me at the intermediate, the primary, I can go. But I feel like it would be nice if we had more SROs in each school, and TTA, of course. TTA is part of the school district.
So what's an absolute immediate situation in the other schools that you would go to that school?
Kids fighting usually.
Oh.
I've gotten calls about that. Not really the primary. They're little bitty guys. Usually the primary, which is what, 4th through 6th.
Intermediate.
They do get fights there, and sometimes they call and they're like, "Hey, we had a fight. Can you come?" And because the parent wants to talk to you, kind of thing. Yeah. Or a kid has threatened he has a knife from the pocket, which that's happened once I think last year, but they handled it and they were like, it wasn't a knife. It was a spoon or something. But something like that. That's why I'm mostly at the high school, just because that's more of the young adult where they don't know what they want in life yet. They're still making their own decisions. Want to be independent, but they're dependent on their family, of course. So that's why mostly I'm up there. So, went over, like I said, just keep the school safe, prevent crime, prevent anyone to get a criminal record.
Are you allowed to give if a student is speeding in the parking lot, can you give a ticket?
Yes. So we did traffic control yesterday. We pulled over 5 people for speeding in a traffic during lunch. And then I pulled over 2 this morning for speeding in a school zone.
Did you give them tickets?
Not this morning. Yesterday they did. So it's the discretion of the officer. If it's really like yesterday, one was going 10 over the school in the school zone, they were given one. That's extreme, especially in a school zone. So, yes.
Do you guys patrol from 10th and Smithland all the way up? Because I had a constituent that complained of pretty fast driving and I would say they are in the
1000
maybe
block.
1200 block.
Okay. It's usually 10th and 14th
Yeah.
is where they release speed. We could try, like other officers try. Me, my station's the high school. So in the mornings, I'm doing traffic control at the high school.
And it may
In
be
that
during
school
lunch.
zone. And we did that during lunch yesterday.
Good.
Just not today because I had to leave and then come back. But we're trying.
But it's in that area.
Yeah. Well, mine is more up in the school zone.
Does somebody
I know
else
that
does-
they're there, but if whoever had told you has seen it, or you guys have a pattern of what time and around what time usually, we can try to get an officer there like immediately if they're not backed up. Because sometimes we only have 2 to 3 officers at a time, and,
Yeah, I
and
know.
it seems like we always get calls at the same time, where one's caught up on one call and the other in the other.
Yeah.
So we try, and obviously I have to be in the school. So I'm at the school, and for lunch I'm in the perimeter of the school. So
Do you know how your position is funded?
yes, sorry you weren't here. I am funded through the district. The school district pays a portion of my salary, and then the rest is through the PD.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. I didn't do this one either. Oh yeah, there's just, sorry, some of it seems like it's repeating. I just kind of added some of my stuff earlier and then did that. Well, that was it for that. That's why I didn't know. But that's mostly what I do. It's mostly just to be there, just to be that ear for somebody to really talk to and prevent crime if I can, or which I have. I mean, even in the events. Like football games, volleyball games, homecoming's coming up. I'm there with their
Like the
extracurricular.
shoes.
Huh?
The shoes. That was a big thing on Facebook.
The shoes?
Yeah.
Oh, I
The
didn't hear about that.
Football shoes or the football, something with football. I think they went out to practice and somebody stole their regular shoes
Oh.
out of the.
That is so common.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and when they bring it to our attention, we look at cameras, and then if I find anything, I let the administrators know, and they handle it usually. If it's nothing they can, then I would take over. But I help out as much as I can. So that is pretty much it. I mean,
Do you have an office at the school, or do you just always you're out just out in the building somewhere?
No, I don't really have an office. I'm behind the attendants. So if you ever been at the high school, you go in through the doors to your left. There's that big hex. And it's the 2 secretaries, the other secretary for athletics, and then I'm in the corner. Like, I can see it. I'm just right there. I'm visible. I'm there. I walk, I get up, I walk around. If I need to talk to somebody in private, of course I would ask administrators if I could use their office,
Right.
especially if I'm investigating a crime. And they're more than willing to help. Yeah, you can use my office. Close the door and I have privacy. And then of course there's not enough like littler rooms in the high school for me to have an own office anyways. You know how the hexes are, right? Each hex is a classroom, so there's not really own offices, so yeah. So that is it, guys. Unless you have any more other questions. These are all good questions, by the way. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, thank you for doing what you do.
No, thank
know
you.
that it's really needed.
Yeah, I really do
I
appreciate it.
the-
Yeah.
And you seem like a good fit for where you are.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I've come a long way. When I first got hired, I was like, there's no way I'd work up there. Yeah, those kids, nah. But now I love it. I love my job. I do. I actually took up an extra position as in coaching, so I'm the coach for the junior high volleyball team.
Oh,
So I was able to make those girls talk to me. Some of them wouldn't. So I did that more because to establish rapport, to establish those relationships. So, and they're opening up to me. They're almost like family. I walk the halls. What up, girl? You need help in that class. You're low on your grade. Because of course I get the eligibility of who can play and who cannot. So yeah, it's really nice. I'm very, very lucky and blessed. But
So do you feel like overall for the whole student body that there is respect for police officers, or the young people don't have respect for them?
the majority. So from what I can see, high school, there's respect. Junior high, not so much.
Well,
That's where I guess it's a good thing I'm a coach for the junior high so far, for, at least on the girls' side, just to establish it. And it's because a lot of these junior high kids have had bad interactions with officers, not because of them, but because of family members. High school, I think it's more of a maturity thing then. Finally, they're realizing, oh, they're not the problem. Somebody in their family might have been the problem, but yeah, I see it from that point.
So have you ever been fearful in your job?
At the school?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Not at the school. Any other good questions? All good questions. Thank you guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.